Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat, our TNA show of the week. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner, Firebreaker Chip.
Damn, we were really shitty tag team partners. Gary Rhodes, everybody. Holy shit, you were like 91 on that one, didn't you?
Goddamn right I did. I pulled that one out of my rectum.
What was the tag team partner's name though? That's the thing.
It was Firebreaker Chip and Buff Bagwell.
Was it Buff? No, there was the other one.
They did
the
that
top
for a
thing.
little while.
There was
Anyway,
anyway.
we're getting into the TNA show. First thing we're going to talk about is the Final Resolution pay-per-view. Overall shitty show, but we'll go by match. The first match was a match that they didn't advertise. It's Kaz versus James Storm.
Solid match.
It was probably one of the better matches of the night. The only one I could think of as better is the one involving Kaz's partner later on.
But we'll get to that later on.
I thought it was a decent match. I like how these guys worked. I kind of wish they would have advertised this, because this is a match that would have actually made me want to buy the pay-per-view if I wasn't going to buy it already.
Well, that's just bad marketing right there, and that's one of their problems.
And speaking of marketing, we have Rob Van Dam versus Kenny King for the TNA title was the second match of the night. X-Division title, sorry. There was no build-up to it. Kenny King had been off of TV for the most better part of a few months, and then all of a sudden he's thrown in a title match.
This match here wasn't already the greatest match, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. It really didn't stand out to me.
I really enjoyed their match later on, and I think that's what I mean that you're going to talk about. This just kind of seemed, I don't know, it didn't seem like they gave them the time that they wanted or needed for the match. And a match they did give a lot of time to, but really didn't deserve it because it was kind of a shit match. Was Joey Ryan and Matt Morgan versus Chavo, Guerrero, and Hernandez.
That was just a shit match. I mean, we don't even have to talk about it. That's how shitty it was to me. I really did not like it at all.
No, it was absolutely terrible. There was a couple spots with Matt Morgan that I really liked. Matt Morgan is someone that can be something.
That's a GUP match. Get up and piss. You know, if you're at the pay-per-view, I'm going to get up and piss. This next match, though, wasn't. Austin Aries versus Bully Ray. I thought that was one of the better matches of the night.
It was very, very solid. I liked the match they did about 6 months ago on pay-per-view a lot better than this. But this wasn't a bad match by any means. The whole pay-per-view left a bad taste in my mouth. At this point, I was already getting frustrated with the quality of the matches we were being given. Like I said, other than Kaz and Storm in the opener, the next two matches were kind of subpar, and it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, which lingered over into this match. And these are two guys I really like.
Well, you were talking about a bad taste. The next match was terrible too. Yeah. Tara versus Mickie James. I mean, these two, and we're not dissing the women wrestling division, but we're dissing these two because they put on better matches.
Well, you know what? I'm going to take that a step further, because I was going to wait for the talk about it on the next when we talk about Madison Rayne versus Velvet Sky as well. But I'm going to take it a step further. The whole TNA knockout division has lowered the bar, in my opinion. At one point, they were 10 times better than the Divas division in the WWE, and now they've gone to where their matches are just as boring and bullshit as the WWE ones.
Well, I think it was more that Tara and Mickie James don't give a shit no more. They've already made their big money. They're just here to keep.
What about the Madison Rayne and Velvet Sky one?
And that was supposed to be Velvet's big match coming back. It wasn't as bad as this match, but it was bad as it was.
I mean, in my opinion, the whole division needs a shake-up. They need to either start giving a shit again, or start pushing better wrestlers, or bring Awesome Kong back.
I'd go for that.
But, coming off of that, we had another thing. We had the big 8-man match, Aces and Eights versus Team Angle, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Wes Briscoe, and Garrett Bischoff. It was a decent match. The thing of it was, we were waiting for
the payoff.
There was no payoff either. No one got it unmasked. No one turned. We expected Bischoff and Briscoe to turn because they've been working as Aces and Eights under the hoods.
Exactly.
But the thing of it is, no one turned. None of the Aces and Eights were revealed. It kind of drug on, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit when we get to our question of the week. But it kind of drug on, and the match really wasn't anything special.
Not at all. This match here, they built up for a payoff. I was expecting a heel turn from Garrett and Wes, and just let down.
Some kind of payoff. Any payoff. Unmask another Aces and Eights guy.
Exactly.
That's a payoff to this.
What's a pay-per-view? Your fans are paying for something. They're not paying for a TNA Impact main event. They're paying for a pay-per-view. Give them something.
And that's what this whole show felt like. It felt like just another episode of TNA Impact. Yeah. And, you know, in my opinion, it was one of the worst pay-per-views they've thrown all year, barring the next match. The next match was actually pretty great. Christopher Daniels versus AJ Styles, supposedly the last time ever. I thought it was a great worked match. These guys worked together so many times. It's hard to find a bad match between the two, but I think this was one of their better matches. And I absolutely love the fact that Chris Daniels went over.
Oh, I do too. And it's about time, because like we were sitting there talking during a match. Usually every pay-per-view or television match that AJ and Daniels fight, AJ goes over. Daniels went over and he used a Styles Clash, which was perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
Perfect. Well, you know, it kind of threw the nail in the coffin. If this was going to be their last match, then they ended it good. The right guy went over.
And Chris Daniels has deserved this rub for a long time. TNA as a company has jerked him around a bunch of times. They've let him go and brought him back, let him go and brought him back, let him go and brought him back, stuck him in Suicide, stuck him in as Curry Man, gave him pushes, stalled the push, put him with 80 different tag team partners.
I think his problem is a lot of these big talent guys is he has a problem saying no. I won't do it. I honestly think that's his problem, because, you know, if they tell him to do it, he's a company guy, I think.
Yeah. And he's one of the better wrestlers in the company, and always has been since day one.
When he first walked in here, he was the best in the world. Were you going to cut a CM Punk promo on him?
No, I'm just...
I got you. Anyways.
And then we had an absolutely terrible main event.
Bobby
Roode versus Jeff Hardy. Bobby Roode's a guy I really like. Thinks a great wrestler. Jeff Hardy, as of late, has been putting on some really good matches. The match itself looked like they were stalling the whole time, and we understand why, because the match ends with Aces and Eights.
Exactly.
Killing a main event in the pay-per-view. And this is some WCW level fucked upness.
Oh, it is.
In my opinion. This is the same shit that WCW was doing and losing ratings with. And these guys can't even get a foothold in the ratings to lose the goddamn ratings.
And that's the big problem is these guys are not thinking outside the box. They're opening up WCW's playbook and say, well, this worked here, well, we'll do this.
It didn't work, though. That's the
problem.
People got sick of the pay-per-view building up the TV show.
If you want to look through the right playbook, you look through Vince McMahon's playbook back in those days, because that's the playbook that won.
Yeah.
Other than that, WCW's playbook should have been thrown in the trash. The only thing that, you know, and that's the thing, is these guys could be doing so much better. They got a decent amount of money, and they got television. What's the problem? You know?
It's bad decisions all the way around. And throwing out shitty pay-per-views like this. If this was the first TNA pay-per-view I ever bought, I would never buy another TNA pay-per-view. Because I would be pissed off at the product I was given. Because it's the same product I could see and bet free on Thursday night. It's in the same arena. It's got the same matches. It's got nothing special happen. There was no go away moment on the pay-per-view that makes you excited to have watched it. I mean, other than Daniels and AJ, great match. There was a couple really good matches on the show. But
the shit made it worse. The shit matches made everything look like shit. I'm sorry.
It was kind of like sticking a diamond in a pile of fucking dog shit.
That's it, right there.
Just because you got a diamond, you're not going to find it in the pile of dog shit. Which was what this pay-per-view was, and it really frustrated...
The diamond in the dog shit match.
It really frustrated me as a fan and as someone that wants to see TNA do well. Not only for our show, because it gives us more to talk about, but as a wrestling fan, I want to see more companies do good, do well. And, you know, this just, it didn't have it. And it leads me into our question of the week.
We're talking about a pay-per-view.
Yeah. The question of the week last week is, do you like the rumor that TNA is going to drop some pay-per-views and go to a lighter pay-per-view schedule? Now, before we get into what we're going to say, I got an answer from our friend Joshua Adams, 1044. I like the idea of 8, but the show needs the time the pay-per-view would have. I definitely agree with that. I like it going back to 8. I'd even like it to see go back to 6. In my optimal opinion, 6 would be perfect. 8 is okay. 12 is too much. Even with WWE, 12 is too much.
Oh, it is.
There's some pay-per-views you just don't give a shit about.
Well, not to bring up WWE on this, but I liked it better when they had separate shows and separate pay-per-views. SmackDown had their pay-per-views, Raw had theirs, and they split the big four. With this, I agree with you. 6 to 8 would be a perfect number. You could build your storylines 10 times better. You could build your talent 10 times better. Because, you're going to have a better payoff. Because then you're going to have something to build up to. But the thing is, if they build up and that was the build up to a 2-month wait, as a fan, I'd be fucking irate.
Well, here's the thing. You have, let's say you dial it back to 6, do half the pay-per-views. That gives you 3, I'd say dial it back to 6, give 3 Clash of the Champions style shows free on Spike TV. A pay-per-view quality show for
on
free.
A Wednesday night or on
something.
Yeah, just a different night.
Something, anything. Saturday even. Give us something. Give us a reason to come to TNA. Because the ratings aren't there. The fans aren't coming. New fans aren't coming to TNA. You're holding the same rating. It's right about a 1 rating. It goes a little bit low, goes a little bit higher. So you're holding the same rating. You're not giving us new reason to tune into the show. I mean, fans like us are going to keep tuning in, but the casual fan isn't tuning in, and they need something to tune in for. If they turned on, let's say, a Wednesday night, like you said, and they ran it against Main Event, and they put on a pay-per-view quality show against Main Event, had an hour, did like the same as the first Clash of Champions, put Jeff Hardy versus Austin Aries in a 1-hour match to end the show, the whole wrestling world would be talking about it, and the next show, everybody would want to tune in. Just my opinion.
I agree with it.
Now, getting on to that, our question of the week for this week, something that I touched on a little bit, and it's going to be a running thing through the whole TNA Impact show. Are you guys getting sick of the Aces and Eights gimmick with no payoff yet? It's been going on, about 6 months now. There's not been a payoff other than Luke Gallows and Devon Dudley. That's the only guys that have been there. I think they need a big name announced soon, or they need to have the reason why they're doing this announced soon. It needs to be a payoff soon, in my opinion.
And that's the problem with the company. They're not giving payoffs.
And this is a question to you. What do you guys think? Are you sick of the Aces and Eights? Or do you think it's run its course? Do you think they need to end it? Do you think... Whatever you think about the Aces and Eights, let us know. Hit us up on our Twitter. Put it on our Facebook. Leave it down where?
Down there. I haven't stretched on this one.
Put it right down in their comments, and we'll let you know what we think. I touched on a little bit right there because it's just upsetting to me right now, but we'll let you know what we think more thoroughly next week.
All right. Well, speaking of the Aces and Eights, we opened up the show
with Bobby Roode asking about the Aces and Eights and who paid them more than him, which brought out Storm and Hardy that chased them off. Your general wrestling TV show opening. I mean,
the good thing about it wasn't long.
No.
The amount we talked about it was about the length of it.
Exactly.
And then we go to the first match, which what we were talking about earlier, Madison Rayne, Velvet Sky.
And we already talked. It was a terrible match. Two absolutely beautiful women.
Oh God, yeah. But terrible match.
The match was terrible, and it's a WWE Divas match, and the knockouts are known to be better than the Divas, and they should be. And this is not what we're getting.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the next match, the Robbies versus the Briscoe and Bischoff.
Right. Robbie T versus Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff. Wes Briscoe and Garrett get over on the match, which I knew going in they were going to.
Exactly.
But to me, you're killing a tag team that could be a good tag team in Robbie and Robbie T. I like their look. I like their gimmick. Call me crazy. I think the guys work well together.
They do, and that's the problem is they're taking people that are working well together and shitting on them. Yeah. Like Kaz and Daniels. They should be the tag team champions of the world.
I am the tag team champion.
I'm the tag team champions. But they should be the tag team champions in TNA.
Exactly. But, it is what it is. But then we get two guys that are former tag team champions, James Storm and Jeff Hardy versus the Aces and Eights. And it's Doc and the unknown large member of Aces and Eights. Decent match to Storm and Hardy pretty much murder them.
Yeah, well, this should have been the main event because you got your champion there. So you got your champion in a main event worthy match.
Early in the show.
Mid-show.
Exactly.
Good going, guys. Good going. Good going.
And the TNA, you've seen if you've watched our show for any number of the weeks, when they were going live, and they had a good run of about 6-7 shows, 8 shows, about 3 months in a row. They were putting on some really good shows,
ass.
and it's just seeming like they're slacking back down into where they were about a year ago. Mm-hmm. And coming off of that, speaking of somebody that's gone to where he was about a year ago, AJ Styles cuts a promo basically saying he's going to turn heel, not in so many words. He says he's not going to be a company guy anymore, that he's going to do AJ, he's not going to do what the fans want, what Impact wants.
Well, I think it's the best thing for his career, because it's got me interested in it.
The best thing for his career is to go, hi, is this Mr. Laurinaitis?
Well, that's it, but he's never going to leave. He's just like Sting. He's too damn loyal to that company. The thing is with him, he could have been 5 years ago if he would have worked for Vince. He'd be one of these top guys right now working for Vince. But right now, what's he doing? He's at the bottom of the fishing pool or fishbowl at TNA.
He's a small fish in a small pond.
Yeah,
and that really is it. I mean, AJ Styles, he's the face of TNA, and they can't come up with a good gimmick or a good story for him. And it's sad. It really is. Because no one's given more to TNA than AJ Styles. And the guy really is the face of the company. I mean, even more so than a guy like John Cena is for WWE. This guy is TNA.
Oh, he's been here since day one.
And he's been given shit gimmicks ever since Fortune, basically. Yeah. And Fortune wasn't even that great of a gimmick for him.
No.
But speaking of great things, we had an absolutely great match on TNA Impact this week. In the midst of all this, another diamond in the shit pile. Kenny King versus Rob Van Dam. 100 million times better than their pay-per-view match.
Well, like we were talking before, Van Dam has gotten to the point where he's just gotten lazy. He's hitting the 5 moves of doom, or 6-hit
combo of queer.
He's hitting all that stuff.
You got to give the TM Dr. Lou.
TM Dr. Lou. Anyways, this match here, it's like he needs someone to bring him out of that funk. And I think this Kenny King kid is actually doing it because he wasn't the spot monkey that he usually is. He was hitting different moves that he hasn't hit in a long time, and
looked like there were some improvised moves even.
Exactly, like the
which was what made Rob Van Dam so great in ECW was that it looked like he was making up the moves on the spot instead of, okay, here, hold my foot, I'm gonna spin kick you.
And exactly, I mean, he did hit his basic moves, but you gotta expect that in a match. Fans want to see the certain move here, a certain move there.
Yeah, I do like the fact that Kenny King went over on him.
And that was a good thing too. And Kenny King was very impressive during this match too. Van Dam was giving him a chance to shine.
Kenny King is a guy that is the future of the business. I think he has all the charisma and the talent in the world. He needs to get a little bit better on the promo skills, but he's got 2 out of the 3 main components. If he gets that third one, look out. The sky's the limit for this kid.
Exactly.
And another guy that I don't really see having a great future, but he's getting better and better is Jesse Sorensen. What's his I don't know what his last name.
Big Brother.
Jesse from Big Brother. And he's in there with Bully Ray this week, and Bully Ray just lights him up with some chops, leaves some bruises and gashes all over him.
Well, he was paying. The kid was paying his debt. Bully was the one that trained him, right?
I believe so. He trained with Bully and Devon.
So the best way is the teacher to beat the student's ass on television.
There you go.
But Bully did make him shine.
Yeah, he looked like $1 million. It's the best he's ever looked in a match. Bully was pushing his angle with Hogan before the match, screaming and yelling at Hogan's face, which I don't think I've seen anybody do since Sting did it. And it was really refreshing to see something new involving Hogan. Speaking of Hogan, we have our Hogan count now. I'm gonna break it up into 2 different things. 2. The first was the Hogan count on the pay-per-view. We only had 1 Thunder Lips on the pay-per-view. Surprisingly low for Hulk Hogan. Now the second thing, on the Impact show we had 2 Thunder Lips. Now, altogether 3 Thunder Lips during the week. I'm okay with that. Would have been more okay if we had a better show and it wasn't a shit show.
And the thing is, they're making a shit show, and then without him being on there the 2 times, they're going to
seem like it's him.
Exactly, so they're going to make him on there 6 times next week.
Yeah, exactly.
You think that'll be the count?
Probably.
Well, I don't know, it's taped, so we'll have to wait till the next live show and we'll see.
Exactly. Now,
2 weeks from now.
The ending thing, we ended with a promo with Austin Aries explaining why he bought Aces and Eights to attack at the end of the pay-per-view, which brings out Hardy. They do a little brawl. Hardy says, why don't you challenge me next week for the title? Then we go to the end of the show. I mean, I don't know.
Lackluster.
The whole thing, the whole week, both shows, the pay-per-view and the Impact show were both very subpar in my opinion. Like I said earlier, if I was a new fan looking at this product for the first time, I have no reason to turn it back on.
Well, if I'm a fan that's really fed up with it and not in love with the business, I would quit watching.
Exactly. Two absolutely terrible shows. Probably about 3-4 matches between the two shows, and maybe one promo that was worth a shit, and that's the AJ promo and King versus Rob Van Dam the second time. Daniels versus AJ from the pay-per-view. About the only things that were any decent in either one of these. But pretty much that's all I got to say about it. I mean, overall it was shit. You got anything else?
It was just a bunch of shit.
Well, I'm George Coles.
And I'm Gary Rhodes.
And this has been our Heel Heat TNA show.